Why do we need self-control? Ephesians 2:2 says, "In which you once walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit who now works in the sons of disobedience." Now in this verse we see three things. The first thing is the prince of the power of the air, which is Satan. He is the ruler of this world and uses evil desires to this world. The next is the sons of disobedience, which are people who follow Satan and his sinful desires. The next is us, the sons of obedience, who live in God's will and are saved by God's grace. We live in a world where evil influence is real. This is the reason why we need self-control. Now, though we are children of God, we live in this world and are tempted by Satan. There are two scenarios of this. The first scenario is a lack of self-control. James 1:14 through 15 says, "But each one is tempted, is drawn away by his own desires, and enticed. When the desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death." As you can see, seed of desire, there's temptation, which leads to sin. And as Romans says, the wages of sin. Proverbs 25 says, whoever does not have self-control is like a city town without walls. And the same chapter says, "Eat as much as you can, lest you be filled and vomit." This means doing anything in excess becomes sin, controls you.
Hey Evan, I have a question on that. Can you go back to that previous slide? Thank you. So, kids, what is the order that Evan said? It's on the screen right now. Can we listen out? You want to say it?
Seed of desire, temptation, sin, death.
Correct. Right, Evan. Correct. So, I had a question about that. How does that seed form? Do you know? First it's seed, then it's temptation, then sin, death. I have a question about the seed. How do you protect ourselves from getting that seed in? Do you have any ideas?
Think about bad stuff instead of thinking about godly stuff. Always think about negative stuff which produces.
That's a great answer. You're right. When we think about bad stuff, sometimes as kids we get stressed out with school or exams or friendships. We think about bad stuff, but we shouldn't be thinking about that bad stuff. We should be thinking about good stuff, like Evan said. But thank you for that, Evan.
Scenario 2 is having self-control. James 1:12 says, "Blessed is he who endures temptation, for when he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him." So as you can see again, desire, then Satan tempts us, and then now we have self-control. Then after we have self-control, God gives us the crown of life. James 4:7 says, "Therefore submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you." Now, why do we need self-control? Self-control is needed everywhere where temptation. I split this into 5 categories. The first one is thoughts and our mind. Colossians 3:2 says to set our mind on things above and not on earthly things. In the Garden of Eden, it, pluck it out, and cast it out from you. For it is more profitable for you to go into heaven with one eye than for your whole body to go into. The next one is words. James gives a good description of this. He says, "No man can tame the tongue. It is an unruly evil full of deadly poison. With it we bless our God and Father. With it we curse men who have been made in the similitude of God." This is why we should show self-control in our words. Because what we say, we cannot do. The next one is emotion, anger. Saul was angry at David, and we all know what happened. In Matthew 5, Jesus says, "Whoever is angry with his brothers shall be in the danger of judgment." Why we need self-control in our emotions. The last one is food and pleasures. Proverbs 25:16 says to eat only as much as you need. 1 Timothy 6:9 says, "Those who desire to be rich fall into temptation. Love of money is a root of all kinds of evil." Now, in 1 John, Paul says, "Do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but of the world." So how do we get self-control? There's a simple solution. With the help of the Holy Spirit and prayer, we can walk and abide with God. Galatians 5:23 shows that self-control is a fruit of the Holy Spirit. John 14, Jesus says, He promises that for the Helper to come to those who believe. And Paul says in Ephesians that the Holy Spirit is the guarantee of our inheritance. Matthew 26:41, Jesus says, "Watch and pray, lest you enter into temptation." Paul says in 1 Corinthians 10:13 that God is faithful and will not allow you to beyond what you are in. 1 John 2:17 says, "The world is passing away and the lust of it, but the will of God abides forever." So friends, next time you are tempted by desires, think if Jesus would do this. Because Jesus is watching you from above. He knows exactly what you are thinking and doing. James 4:4 says, "Do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with God?" Do you want to be a friend of God or a friend of Satan? Thank you.
Evan, would you like any? That was a great lesson. Do you want to give any questions to the class to make sure they were paying attention and followed?
Question.
I'm not trying to force you. If you want to, you can.
I don't have any questions.
That's okay. I have a question for the class. So Evan listed a bunch of things, right? It has self-control of the body, your emotions, anger. What do you think is the most important thing out of things that Evan listed? I'm not going to show up to what's on the slide, but what do you think is the most important? Yes, Nathan? Well, I mean, yeah, control over sin. That's good. But there's specifically something that the tongue. It is an unruly evil, right? That's what God says. So if you can control the tongue, you can control your eyes, you can control your thoughts, you can control your fingers, you can control all the cookies and ice cream you want to put in your mouth. You can control all of it, right? Once again, thank you for that, Evan. Great job.